A mafia boss's baby wouldn't stop crying. A single mother's simple act of kindness on a plane sparks a chain of impossible choices, deadly suspicions, and a dangerous new life where love is the only weapon. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. The baby's cry was a knife in the quiet of the first-class cabin. It wasn't a normal cry. It was sharp, painful, and it didn't stop, for 2 hours straight. Alessio, the ghost, Volkov stared straight ahead, his jaw like stone. Next to him, his most trusted man, David, jiggled the baby carrier with stiff, awkward movements. "SHH, little prince, please," David whispered, sweat on his brow. The baby, Leo, just cried harder, his face red and scrunched. "Boss," David said, his voice tense. I don't know what he needs. The bottle didn't work. The diaper is clean." Alessio didn't look at him. He looked at the other passengers. A man in 4B was glaring. A woman in 5A had put on noise-canceling headphones. Every cry was a spotlight. Alessio was a ghost, a rumor, a man who moved without being seen. This noise was a disaster. They were fleeing New York after Paul, his own brother, had tried to kill him and take the empire. The only thing Alessio saved was Leo, his 6-month-old son. Now, Leo was telling the whole world where they were. "Figure it out," Alessio said, his voice low and cold. Across the aisle, Mara pulled her thin sweater tighter. She was trying to sleep, but the baby's cries were like fingers on her heart. She knew that cry, the cry of a baby who was lost in his own body, who couldn't get comfortable. She saw the 2 men, too big, too stiff, too scared. They were strangers to this. She saw the fear in the big one's eyes, David. She saw the icy anger in the other, the one by the window, the boss. She had lost her own daughter, Rose, to a fever a year ago. The memory was a physical pain. She was going to Seattle to start over, to run from the empty nursery in her old apartment. This baby's suffering was too much. It pulled her from her seat. She walked over to them. David looked up, startled, his hand moving toward his jacket where a gun was hidden. "Please," Mara said, her voice tired but firm. "Let me try, I can help." Alessio turned his head. His eyes were dark, empty. He looked her up and down. She was plain, dressed in simple clothes, her face pale with exhaustion. "No," he said. "He's colicky," Mara said, not moving. "Your jiggling is making it worse. He's overwhelmed. Please, just for a moment." Leo's cry hit a new, desperate pitch. Alessio closed his eyes for a second. Then he gave a sharp nod. David handed over the carrier like it was a live bomb. Mara took it and sat back in her own seat, turning Leo toward her. She didn't jiggle. She placed a firm, warm hand on his little belly, pressing gently. She leaned close, her mouth near his ear, and she began to sing. The song was old, from a village her grandmother came from in Sicily. A lullaby in a dialect so old few remembered it. The words were about the moon and the sea and a mother's promise. Mara's voice was soft, a little broken, but the tune was pure. Leo's cries hiccuped. Then they softened to a whimper. Then silence. His wide, wet eyes looked up at Mara. He let out a shaky sigh and his body went limp, falling asleep. The relief in the cabin was instant, but for Alessio it was replaced by a cold shock. The tune, those words, he knew them. They were from his childhood, from his mother before she died. From the tiny, forgotten village of San Luca. No one knew that song, no one outside his family. He stared at Mara. She was gently stroking Leo's head, her eyes full of a sad love. This was not a stranger. This was impossible. His brother Paul had tried to kill him. This woman could be another trick. A spy sent to get close to the heir, or something else. A ghost from San Luca sent to torment him. The plane landed in Seattle. Mara handed the sleeping baby back to David. "He needs steady pressure on his belly when he's like that," she said softly. And the song, it just seemed to work. "Thank you," David said, truly grateful. Alessio said nothing. He watched her collect her single, small bag. He made a decision. In the parking garage, it was dark and cold. Mara was walking to the bus stop when a black SUV slid beside her. The door opened. David was there. And Alessio was in the back, holding Leo, who was starting to fuss again. "Get in," Alessio said. Mara froze. "No, thank you, my bus is." Get in, Alessio repeated, his voice leaving no room for argument. You are coming with us. You will take care of my son. Fear shot through Mara. You can't be serious. I have a life. Do you? Alessio cut in, his eyes boring into hers. You have one small bag. You are alone. You will come or you will disappear. The choice is simple. Leo let out a thin, tired cry. The sound broke Mara's resistance. She thought of Rose. She looked at Leo's sad face. And a dangerous thought entered her mind. This baby needs me, and maybe I need him. She got in the SUV. They drove to a big, cold house on a cliff overlooking the sea. It was full of expensive things but felt empty. Alessio led her to a large room. This is your room. Leo's room is next door. David will get you anything you need. You do not leave. You do not call anyone. He handed Leo to her. The baby snuffled against her shoulder, already seeking her comfort. Alessio's eyes narrowed, seeing this. Who sent you? He asked suddenly. Mara was confused. No one, I was on the plane. The song, where did you learn it? My grandmother, from Italy. What village? I don't know the name. She just said it was from the old country. Alessio stepped closer. He was a tall man and his presence filled the room. You will tell me the truth, eventually. He left, locking the door from the outside. Mara sat on the bed, holding Leo. She was a prisoner, but as she looked down at the baby in her arms, a fierce feeling rose in her chest. This was her chance to care for a child again, to love again, and she would use this love, this bond, to stay alive. She would make herself so important to Leo that hurting her would hurt him. It was her only weapon. Days passed. Mara learned the routine. David brought food. A doctor came once to check Leo, a man who asked no questions. Mara saw no one else. Alessio was often gone, but when he was home, he watched her. He watched how she sang to Leo, how she bathed him, how she could calm him in seconds. He saw the real love in her actions, and it confused him. One night, Leo was crying again, a bad episode. Mara walked with him in the living room, singing the lullaby. Alessio stood in the doorway, shadowed. He only stops for you, Alessio said, his voice rough. He trusts me, Mara said, not stopping her gentle bouncing. Why would my son trust a stranger? I'm not a stranger to him, not anymore. She turned to face him. Who do you think I am, really? Alessio walked into the room. The song is from my home, a place no one knows. My brother, Paul, he knows it. He could have taught you. Sent you to get close to Leo. To me. Mara laughed, a short, sad sound. Your brother? I've never met your brother. I'm from Ohio. I worked in a library. I lost my daughter. That's my whole story. The song is just a song my grandmother sang. That's all. She saw something flicker in his eyes. Pain. He looked at Leo, now sleeping peacefully in her arms. My mother sang that song, he said quietly. Before Paul, before things changed. He didn't explain more. He just turned and walked away. The next day, Alessio came to the nursery. He watched Mara feed Leo. Teach me, he said. Teach you what? The song, how to hold him, how to make him stop. So she did. She showed him the pressure point on Leo's belly. She tried to teach him the lullaby. His voice was too hard, too flat. Leo would just stare at him, but Alessio kept trying. One afternoon, David rushed in. Boss, Paul knows you're here. The house in the city was hit. He's looking for you. Alessio's face went cold. We move, now. They packed in minutes. Back into the SUV, driving fast to a smaller, hidden cabin in the woods. The tension was high. That night, guards were posted outside. Mara put Leo to sleep in a small bedroom. She came out to find Alessio cleaning a gun at the kitchen table. He wants Leo, Alessio said, not looking up. To control the family, to end my line. And me, Mara asked. What happens to me when this is over? Alessio finally looked at her. I don't know. The attack came at dawn. Gunfire exploded outside. Mara screamed and ran to Leo's room, grabbing him from his crib. Alessio burst in. Stay down, he yelled, pushing them both into a corner. He fired his gun out the small window. Mara crouched over Leo, her body shielding him, singing the lullaby into his hair to block the noise. She was terrified. but she was also angry. This man, this world, was threatening her child again, not her blood, but her heart. The gunfight ended. David was wounded in the arm, but the attackers were gone. In the silence, Leo started to cry. Myra rocked him automatically, the song falling from her lips. Alessio leaned against the wall, breathing hard. He looked at Myra, covered in dust, protecting his son with her whole body. The truth was suddenly clear. No spy would do that. No ghost from his past would look at him with such raw fear and determination. She was just a woman, a mother, and she had saved his son twice now. "We can't stay here," David said, bandaging his arm. "I know," Alessio said. His eyes were on Myra. "We go to the final safe place, the one only I know." They drove for hours higher into the mountains to an old, sturdy lodge. Once inside, Alessio sent David to check the perimeter. He turned to Myra. "You asked what happens to you," he said. "You stay with Leo, with me, if you want." Myra held Leo close. "As a prisoner." "As family," Alessio said, the words sounding strange in his mouth. "You are Leo's mother now, in every way that matters. That makes you important. To him, to me." It wasn't a love confession. It was a mafia boss's promise, a recognition of a bond that had become power. Myra looked into his eyes, seeing the ice had melted, replaced by a tired, grim honesty. She looked at Leo, who clutched her finger. She had survived. She had used the baby's love as a shield, and now she had gotten something she never expected, a place. A dangerous, violent, terrible place, but a place where she was needed, where she was a mother. "Okay," she said softly. Alessio gave a single nod. Outside, the wind howled like a crying child, but inside, for the first time, it was quiet. Life in the mountain lodge settled into a strange, quiet rhythm. It was like a bubble away from the world. Myra's days were filled with Leo. His first tooth came in and she soothed his tears. He learned to sit up, wobbling on a thick rug by the fireplace. She was his whole world, and slowly she let him become hers. Alessio watched. He was always there in the background. He spent hours on satellite phones, his voice a low, angry rumble as he dealt with the business Paul was tearing apart. But when he was off the phone, he would sit in the chair and watch Myra play with Leo on the floor. One afternoon, Leo was laughing at a simple game of peekaboo. Myra's real laugh, light and happy, filled the room. Alessio stood up. He walked over and sat on the floor next to them. He looked big and out of place on the rug. "Show me," he said. Myra showed him how to play. Alessio's face was serious, like he was planning a raid. He put his hands over his face, then pulled them away. "Boo." Leo stared at him, then let out a giggle. A real giggle for his father. Alessio froze. He looked at Myra, a question in his eyes. She smiled and nodded. He did it again. "Boo!" Another giggle. A slow, small smile broke through on Alessio's face. It changed him. He looked younger. From then on, he tried to be part of their routines. He was clumsy at bath time, getting more water on the floor than on Leo. But he learned. Myra taught him how to test the bottle temperature on his wrist. She showed him which soft toy Leo liked best. One evening, David was cooking dinner. Myra was feeding Leo mashed peas. Alessio sat across the table, watching the green mush get everywhere. "He looks like you," Myra said softly, wiping Leo's chin. "Around the eyes." Alessio was silent for a moment. "My mother's eyes," he said. "Paul has them too." He never talked about Paul. The name was a dark cloud in the room. "What happened?" Myra asked. She was brave now. She knew her value. Alessio stared at his hands. "Our father was a hard man. He taught us that family was everything, but power was more. Paul always wanted more. He thought I was weak because I loved our mother, because I remembered her songs." He looked at Myra. "When she died, the song died too, until you." "I'm not from him, Alessio," Myra said, holding his gaze. "I'm from Ohio. I'm just me." "I know," he said, and it was the first time he truly sounded like he believed it. "Now I know." Later that night, after Leo was asleep, Myra came into the main room. Alessio was by the window, looking out at the dark trees. "We have to go back soon," he said without turning. "I cannot hide forever. Paul is telling the family I am dead, that he is in charge. I must face him. And Leo? Mara asked, her heart tightening. He stays with you, in a safe place. David will protect you. No, Myra said, the word coming out sharp. Alessio turned, surprised. You can't leave him again, Mara said. He needs his father. And you need to see what you're fighting for, not just power. A real family. Take us with you. Hide us close, but don't send us away. Alessio walked toward her. He stopped very close. It will be dangerous, very dangerous. Everything is dangerous, Mara said. But being apart is worse. It breaks the family you're trying to save. He looked down at her. He raised a hand and slowly touched a strand of her hair. You are not what I expected, Mara from Ohio. The plan was set. They returned to the city, but not to the big house on the cliff. They moved into a secure penthouse, high up with many guards. It felt like a fancier prison. Alessio was gone more, meeting with men who were still loyal, gathering his strength. Mara saw the change in him. The gentle man from the mountain was gone, replaced again by the ghost. He came home late, smelling of cold air and sometimes, faintly, of gunpowder. He would always go straight to Leo's room, though, and just watch him sleep. One day, David came to Mara, his face grim. We have a problem. Paul knows about you. He calls you the nanny. He says the boss is soft because of a woman and a baby. He is using it to turn people against him. Fear, cold and solid, settled in Mara's stomach. She was no longer just a secret. She was a target. When Alessio came home that night, she told him. His face went very still. Then he has made his last mistake, Alessio said, his voice deadly quiet. He has threatened my family. The next morning, Alessio did not leave. He stayed in the penthouse. We are having a guest, he told Mara. You and Leo will stay in the bedroom. Do not come out no matter what you hear. Who is it? Mara asked. My brother. The air went cold. Mara wanted to beg him not to do it, to run again, but she saw the look in his eyes. This was the end, one way or another. At exactly noon, the elevator dinged. Mara was in the bedroom with Leo, her ear pressed to the door. She heard voices. Alessio, you look alive. The rumors were wrong. The new voice was smooth, like oil. Paul. You look like a man who is where he does not belong, Alessio replied. This is my home, our family's home. You left. You took the air and hid like a coward with some woman you found on a plane. You tried to kill a baby, Paul, our blood. You are no brother of mine. Leo, sensing Mara's tension, began to fuss. She quickly picked him up and hummed the lullaby, her hand over his back. In the other room, Paul heard the faint hum. He laughed. Is that her, the nanny with the magic song? Let me see her. Let me see my nephew. No. I insist. Paul's voice turned hard. Or the men I have outside this door will insist for me. There was a long silence. Mara's blood pounded in her ears. Then Alessio's voice. Mara, bring Leo, come out here. Her legs felt weak, but she obeyed. She opened the door, holding Leo tightly, and walked into the living room. Paul was there. He looked like a sharper, crueler version of Alessio. His eyes, the same as his brother and his mother, swept over her with a nasty smile. So plain, he said. And the baby, he is small. What do you want, Paul? Alessio said. He was standing perfectly still, but Mara could feel the rage coming off him like heat. I want what is mine, the family. You give it to me and I let you walk away. You, the woman, the baby, go live in the mountains, play house. And if I say no, then I take it and they die, starting with her. Paul pointed at Mara. In that moment, Leo, scared by the loud voices, started to cry. Not a colicky cry, but a scared, trembling wail. Mara automatically began to sing the old lullaby. She rocked him, her eyes locked on Paul. Paul's smirk faded. He stared at her, listening. The color drained from his face. Where did you hear that? He whispered. It's just a song, Mara said, her voice shaking but clear. That was our mother's song, Paul hissed. He looked at Alessio. You taught her to mock me. She knew it already, Alessio said, watching his brother closely. It is a sign, Paul, a sign you are wrong. For a second, Paul looked confused, almost lost. The song clearly shook him, but then his face hardened again. Signs are for weak men. He pulled a gun from his jacket. He didn't point it at Alessio. He pointed it at Mara. Put the baby down, Paul said. No, Mara said, holding Leo closer. She kept singing the words a shield. Put him down, or I shoot you both. Alessio moved. It was so fast Mara barely saw it. He knocked Paul's arm up. The gun went off, the sound incredibly loud in the room, the bullet smashing into the ceiling. Leo screamed. Alessio and Paul fought. It was brutal. They crashed into a table, sending glass flying. They were evenly matched, a lifetime of rivalry exploding. Mara crouched on the floor, her body curled around Leo, trying to block the noise and the sight. David and the other guards burst in, but they couldn't get a clear shot. The brothers were too close. Paul got his hands around Alessio's throat. Alessio's face was turning red. He was struggling. Mara saw his eyes find hers across the room. They were full of apology. Without thinking, Mara did the only thing she could. She screamed, Paul, your mother would be ashamed of you. Paul's head snapped toward her. For just a second, his grip loosened. It was enough. Alessio drove his knee up, breaking free. He grabbed a piece of broken glass from the floor and in one swift, terrible motion, he ended it. Paul fell and did not move again. The room was suddenly, terribly quiet. The only sound was Leo's ragged cries and Mara's shaky singing. Alessio stood over his brother, breathing hard. He dropped the glass. He walked to Mara and Leo. He knelt in front of them, his hands covered in blood. He didn't touch them. He just looked, making sure they were okay. It's over, he breathed. But Mara knew it was. It was just beginning. The days after Paul's death were a blur. Men came and went from the penthouse, speaking in low voices to Alessio. The body was taken away. The blood was cleaned. It was like it never happened, except in their minds. Alessio was different, quieter. He spent more time with Leo, holding him for long periods, just staring into his son's face. He was making sure Leo was real, that this future was real. One evening, he found Mara in the kitchen, making a bottle. We will have a meeting tomorrow, he said. The captains, the important men from the family, they need to see me. They need to see that I am strong, that the line continues. Mara just nodded, warming the milk under the tap. You will be there, Alessio said, and Leo. Mara's hand froze. Why, I'm not part of that. You are, he said, his voice firm. You are the mother of my heir. They need to see you. They need to respect you. If they respect you, they will be loyal to Leo, to our future. Our future, the words hung in the air. What do I do? Mara asked, fear curling in her stomach. You stand beside me. You hold Leo. You say nothing. You look at no one but me or the baby. You are a queen, a silent queen. Can you do that? Mara thought of Rose. She thought of the library in Ohio. That life was gone. This was her life now. She looked at Alessio. He needed her to do this for Leo. Yes, she said. The next night, the penthouse was full of men. They were big, serious men in expensive suits. They didn't smile. The air smelled of cigars and danger. Mara wore a simple black dress. She held Leo, who was awake and quiet, his big eyes taking in the lights. Alessio stood at the head of the room. He wore a suit that fit him perfectly. He was the ghost again, but a new version. His eyes swept over the men. My brother is dead, he began, his voice cutting through the quiet. He betrayed me. He betrayed our blood. He pointed a gun at my son. A low murmur went through the room. This is my son, Leo, Alessio said, gesturing to Mara. She took a small step forward. Every eye in the room was on her. It felt like being stared at by wolves. And this is Mara, Leo's mother. She is under my protection, our protection. Any insult to her is an insult to me. Any threat to my son is a death sentence for your entire line. Do you understand? The men nodded. One by one they said, Yes, boss. An older man with gray hair and sharp eyes named Victor spoke. Boss, the mother, she is not Italian. She is not from a family. What is her place? Alessio's gaze could have frozen fire. Her place is next to me. Her blood does not matter. Her heart does. She saved my son when no one else could. Her loyalty is proven. That is more than I can say for some men in this room whose families I have known for generations." No one else asked questions after that. After the men left, Mara's legs felt weak. She put Leo in his playpen and sat down. Alessio poured a drink but didn't drink it. "You did well," he said. "They hate me," Mara whispered. "They fear me," Alessio corrected. "And now they will fear for you. That is better than love in our world." Life began to change. Mara was no longer a hidden secret. She was a known fact. Guards drove her when she went shopping for baby clothes or toys. The salespeople were terrified, rushing to help her. She had everything she could want except freedom. She could not see friends because she had none here. She could not call her old life. It was too dangerous. But she had Alessio. Slowly, carefully, they became a team. He would ask her opinion on business matters, not the violent parts, but the parts about people. "This captain, he has a daughter Leo's age. Should I send a gift?" Or, "This man is loyal, but he talks too much at home. His wife gossips. What should I do?" Mara would think about it. "Send the gift. It's good for Leo to have connections." Or, "Tell him to keep business at work for his family's safety." Alessio listened to her. Her words became his commands. One night, maybe 6 months after Paul's death, they were in the living room. Leo was finally sleeping through the night. A fire was going. Alessio was looking at papers. Mara was reading a book. "Why did you stay?" Alessio asked suddenly, putting his papers down. "On the plane, you could have sat still. You could have ignored us. Why did you get up?" Mara closed her book. She thought about the real answer. It was painful. "Because when my Rose died, I thought I would never help a child again. I thought that part of me was broken. When I heard Leo cry, it was like my heart started beating again. I had to help, even if it was scary." Alessio watched the fire. "My mother died when I was young. My father told me tears were weakness. Paul learned that lesson too well. You taught my son it is okay to cry, and you taught me it is okay to comfort him." He looked at her. "You fixed something in us that was broken." He got up and walked over to her. He knelt in front of her chair so their eyes were level. It was a humble pose from a man who never knelt. "Mara from Ohio," he said, his voice rough. "Will you stay, not as a nanny, not as a prisoner, as my wife, as Leo's mother, for real?" Mara's breath caught. This wasn't a pretty proposal. It was a pact, a promise of more danger, of a life forever tied to this dark world. But she looked at this fierce, broken man who was learning to love. She thought of Leo, her son, in every way that mattered. This was her family, the one she'd thought she'd lost. "Yes," she said. The wedding was small, in the penthouse. Only David, Victor, and a few other trusted captains were there. A priest was brought in, a man who asked no questions. Mara wore a cream-colored dress. Leo wore a tiny suit and fussed through the whole ceremony. When the priest pronounced them man and wife, Alessio kissed her. It was gentle and full of promise. After there was a dinner, Victor raised a glass, to the boss, and to the boss's wife, La Regina, the queen. The men all drank. La Regina. Mara let the name settle on her. She was queen of a kingdom of shadows. She would have to be strong. Weeks later, a new problem came. A young, ambitious captain named Marco saw Alessio's marriage as weakness. He thought Mara was a point of attack. He started to spread whispers. "The boss is softened. His American wife controls him. The boy is not strong." The whispers got back to David, who told Alessio. Alessio's anger was cold. He planned a brutal response. Mara heard about it. She went to his office, a room she usually avoided. "David told me about Marco," she said. Alessio's eyes were dark. "He will be dealt with." "How?" "Permanently." Mara shook her head. "No." Alessio looked up, surprised. "No, he disrespects you. He undermines me." "Killing him makes him a martyr. It makes others scared, but it also makes them think the whispers are true, that you are violent because you are weak." Mara walked closer. "Invite him to dinner, here, with his wife." "What?" "You are a family man now. Show him. Let him see you with Leo. Let him see me. Let him see that I am not a weakness but a strength. That our family is what makes you powerful, not angry. If he still disrespects you after that, then you do what you must. But give him a chance to see the truth first." Alessio stared at her. He saw the steel in her eyes. This was the woman who had faced down Paul. She was not asking as a wife. She was advising as a partner. A queen. "Okay," he said. "We will try it your way." The dinner was tense. Marco and his wife, Elena, were nervous. Marco was a proud man trying to hide his fear. They sat at the long table. Mara was polite, talking to Elena about harmless things. Alessio was quiet, watching. Then, as dessert was served, Leo started crying from his room. Mara stood up. "Excuse me," she said softly. She came back a few minutes later with Leo in her arms. He was in his pajamas, sleepy and soft. She didn't go back to her seat. She walked over to Alessio. "He wants his father," she said, and placed Leo in Alessio's lap. Alessio, in the middle of a business dinner, held his son. He patted Leo's back automatically. Leo snuggled against his chest and went quiet, sucking his thumb. The sight was shocking. The feared ghost holding his sleepy child. Marco stared, his mouth slightly open. He saw the look on Alessio's face, not softness, but a terrifying, deep love. A love that would destroy anything that threatened it. He saw Mara standing beside them, a calm, steady force. This was not weakness. This was a different kind of power. One Marco did not understand, and now feared more than any show of violence. After the guests left, Alessio put Leo to bed. He came back and found Mara cleaning up. "Marco will be loyal for life now," he said, "and he will tell everyone what he saw. You were right." "It's not about being right," Mara said. "It's about building something that lasts, for Leo." Alessio came and took her hand. He looked at the simple gold wedding band on her finger. "You have given me back my family, Mara, and you have given me a new way to rule. I do not know how to thank you." Mara leaned her head against his shoulder. "Just be here, with us. That's all the thanks I need." For the first time, Alessio Volkov felt like he was home, not in a house or a territory, but with a person. His son slept safely down the hall. His wife stood by his side. The cries on the plane had led him here to this quiet, powerful love. The war wasn't over, but now he had a real reason to fight. Not for power, but for peace. For them. 2 years passed. Leo was now a running, talking whirlwind of energy. He had his father's dark, serious eyes, but his laugh was all Mara, full and joyful. The penthouse was no longer a cold fortress. It was a home, with toys scattered on the expensive rugs and crayon drawings stuck to the stainless steel refrigerator. Mara was no longer just La Regina in name. She had become her true role. She organized the family's charitable donations, always in cash, always anonymous. She advised on which business fronts to expand. The restaurant? A good idea, it was public. The gambling den? Scale it back, too much police attention. The men listened. They saw her wisdom. They also saw the way the boss's eyes followed her in a room. To cross her was a death sentence no one wanted to test. Alessio had changed the most. He still had to be the ghost sometimes. He still made hard, violent decisions. But he came home for dinner. He helped give Leo his bath. He read bedtime stories, his voice awkward at first, then growing smooth. The lullaby was now a family song. Sometimes all three of them would sing it, a soft, secret melody that bound them together. But their world was not a normal one. The first real test came when Leo was 3. They were at a private park, one Mara had deemed secure. It was surrounded by high walls. Leo was on a swing, with David pushing him gently. Alessio and Mara sat on a bench nearby, watching. A delivery van pulled up to the service gate. It was expected, new patio furniture. The guards checked the driver's ID, gave a nod. The van drove in. But something in the driver's posture made Alessio tense. He stood up. "David," he said, his voice low. The van doors burst open. Not one, but 3 men jumped out. They weren't delivering furniture. They had guns. They were from a rival family, the Costellos, who saw Alessio's focus on his family as a perfect time to strike. "Get Leo," Alessio yelled to Mara, already moving, his own gun appearing from under his jacket. Chaos erupted. Shots rang out. The guards fired back. Mara didn't scream. A cold, clear focus took over. She ran to the swing. David had already pulled Leo off and was shielding him with his body. Mara grabbed Leo, tucking his face into her neck. She ran toward the safe house door in the garden wall. A bullet hit the brick beside her head, spraying chips of stone. She flinched but kept running. She could hear Alessio's gun, steady and precise. She made it inside, slamming and locking the heavy steel door. She crouched on the floor, Leo crying in her arms. "SHH, my love, SHH," she whispered, rocking. She didn't sing. The sound would give away their position. She just held him, her heart hammering. The gunfight outside seemed to last forever. Then, silence. A minute later, a code was tapped on the door. It was Alessio's pattern. She opened it. He stood there, his suit jacket torn, a cut on his cheek. His eyes were wild. He looked at her, then at Leo, checking for injuries. Seeing they were safe, the wildness in his eyes changed to a cold, terrifying rage. "Costello," he breathed. That night, after Leo was asleep, with extra guards at his door, Alessio paced his office like a caged tiger. "They came for my family and our home, our safe place. They saw a child playing on a swing and they opened fire." Mara sat quietly. She was still shaking inside, but she wouldn't show it. "What will you do?" "What do you think?" he snapped, then instantly regretted it. "I'm sorry, they have to be erased, all of them." The old Alessio would have already given the order. The new Alessio was waiting for her. Mara thought, a full-scale war would mean more blood, more risk for Leo, for all of them. You erase them, and another family will see it as a vacuum and move in. There will always be another Costello. "So I do nothing," he said, his voice dangerous. "No, you do something smarter. You take what they value most. Not their lives, their money, their reputation. I've seen the books, Alessio. Their construction business is a front, but it's legitimate on paper. Ruin it. Leak their real accounts to the authorities. Let the police and the taxmen tear them apart. Let them be weak and desperate in prison. Then the other families will see that you don't just kill your enemies. You destroy them completely without firing a shot. That is more powerful. And it keeps our hands cleaner for Leo." Alessio stopped packing. He looked at her with a kind of awe. "You are ruthless, Mara Volkov." "I am a mother," she corrected. "I am protecting my son's future. A war today could get him killed tomorrow. A bankrupt rival in jail next year is safer." He walked over and kissed her forehead. "It will be done." And it was. Within weeks, the Costello empire crumbled from the inside. Their assets were frozen. Their captains were arrested. The head of the family, old man Costello, died of a heart attack when the IRS knocked on his door. The message was sent. The ghost was not soft. He was smarter, and he had a brain behind the throne that made him more dangerous than ever. Time moved on. Leo started a small, very private preschool. Only children of trusted associates attended. One day, he came home crying. A boy named Luca had said Leo's mother wasn't his real mother. Mara's heart sank. She knelt down. "Why did he say that, sweetheart?" He said, I don't look like you," Leo sobbed. Alessio, who had heard the crying, came in. His face was dark. "Who is this boy? Who is his father?" "Alessio, no," Mara said firmly. She looked at Leo. "He's right, my love. You don't look like me. You look like your papa. But being a mom isn't about how you look. It's about who loves you, who takes care of you, who sang to you on an airplane when you were sad, who taught you your letters." "You," Leo sniffled. "And who reads you stories every night, and who would do anything in the whole world to keep you safe." "You," he said again, his cries slowing. "That's what makes a real mom," Mara said, pulling him into a hug. "And I am your real mom, always." Alessio watched, his anger melting into something deeper. Later, he told David to have a quiet word with Luca's father. Not a threat, just a suggestion that his son learn some manners. The next day, Luca brought Leo a toy car and said he was sorry. The final test came from within. Victor, the old, loyal captain, came to Alessio with a concern. "Boss, the boy is healthy, he is smart, but he is kind. The men worry. This world, it eats kind hearts." Alessio knew this was the most dangerous question of all. What kind of man would Leo become? A monster like his grandfather? A betrayer like Paul? or something else? He brought the question to Mara that night. They worry he is too soft, that he will not be able to lead. Mara put down her book. What do you worry? I worry they are right, Alessio admitted, a great pain in his voice. I do not want him to be like me, but I do not want him to be destroyed. Mara took his hand. He will not be soft, Alessio. He is being raised with love, but also with truth. He sees your strength. He sees my strategy. He will learn that kindness is not weakness. It is a choice that strong people can make. He will lead with loyalty, not fear. And that will make the family stronger than it has ever been. Alessio hoped with his whole soul that she was right. On Leo's 5th birthday, they had a small party. The usual guests were there, David, Victor, a few others. Leo blew out his candles. He opened a gift from David, a small wooden toy train. From Victor, a set of history books. From his father, a tiny, perfect silver compass. So you can always find your way home, son, Alessio said, his voice thick. And from Mara, she gave him a framed picture. It was of the three of them, taken on the mountain at the lodge. They were all smiling. It was the only family photo they had. This is your family, Leo, Mara said. Always, no matter what. That night, after the guests left and Leo was asleep surrounded by his new toys, Alessio and Mara stood on the penthouse balcony. The city lights glittered below, a kingdom of shadows and light. Do you ever miss it? Alessio asked quietly. Ohio, the quiet life. Mara looked at the lights, then back at the penthouse where her sons slept. I had a quiet life. It was empty. This life is loud and it is hard and it is dangerous. She took his hand, her wedding band gleaming. But it is full. It has love. It has purpose. It has family. I would choose this 1,000 times. Alessio pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. He thought of the desperate man on the plane, a screaming baby and an empire falling apart. He thought of the woman who stood up and sang an old song. That one moment, that unthinkable act of kindness had changed everything. It had given him back his heart. It had given him a future. He wasn't just the ghost anymore. He was a husband, a father, a man with something to Lowe's thank you for joining the Volkov family. Could you have made Mara's choice? Tell us where in the world you're watching from and subscribe for more stories where one decision changes everything. Would you survive a mafia boss's notice? And because of that, more powerful than ever. Below them, the city hummed with life and danger. But up here, in their fortress of love and steel, they were safe. They were together. The baby had stopped crying long ago, and in its place was the warm, strong silence of a family bound not by blood, but by something even stronger. Choice, loyalty, and a lullaby that had saved them all. Thank you for joining the Volkov family. Could you have made Mara's choice? Would you survive a mafia boss's notice? Tell us where in the world you're watching from and subscribe for more stories where one decision changes everything.